Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the WrestleTalk Podcast. I am Luke Owen, DAD, and I'm joined by the hardest working person in all of sports infotainment, Denise Salcedo. How's it going, Denise?
I'm doing pretty great. Great to see you back here on the show. I was missing you the last couple of weeks.
I know, and isn't it sad that I'm going to be off for yet another week, which means it's another week without Team Danuke.
You're just a very busy person. I can't keep up with your schedule, Luke.
I know. You see me, I'm interviewing Bianca Belair. I'm interviewing the Street Profits. I'm just taking days off work. And now I'm back here to chat with you.
I love it.
Well, we've got a very cool show today because it's not just the two of us, is it, Denise Salcedo? We are joined by AEW's QT Marshall. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of all the shirts that you had, that's the one you chose to wear today. Yeah. Okay. I see how this is going to be. So, all right. I'm ready for it. Gloves are off.
There are times when you just have to represent some of the top talent in AEW.
Sure.
And
I understand. The factory shirts were all sold out. I get it.
They're very hard to get hold of on AEW.
Yeah, I know. Gogo's a big star, you know.
Thank you to everyone who just pointed out I was on the wrong microphone. No one pointed it out to me before we went live. So that's why we've got our wonderful live audience here to point this out to me. QT, thank you for joining us today. Let's talk about the Nightmare Factory. Let's talk about your training school. How have things been going there? Great.
I mean, for me, it's a dream come true. It's kind of the story of how my life has been for the past couple of years. I moved down to Georgia with my wife in 2017 with the idea that we were just going to open up the greatest wrestling facility in the world. And slowly but surely, it's kind of becoming that, from the amount of success that some of our athletes have had to, the money that it generates. I mean, all across the board, it kind of really has become like the best wrestling facility out there. So.
Because you did a lot of filming down there. At the start of the pandemic, you were using it to film Dynamite.
Yeah.
How was that? Like sort of setting that up and doing all those deals and getting everything into place for that?
Yeah, I mean, our amazing team, Raphael Morphy and our production staff, they really handled all of that stuff. I was just hey, this is an option if we need it, and we did need it. And they were able to just, remove. I mean, we had to break down all of our rings and put them all on the other side of the building and stuff like that. But I mean, in the one day that they transformed that whole entire building, I mean, it looked amazing to the point where, I went out and spent about good $20,000, $30,000 of my money to kind of create something similar for our students. So at the end of their 12-week camps, they can have their showcase and, give them a little arena. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely something that, to know that I was able to help the company in the time of need. I think that's something that they'll never forget. And, it was just a really cool time and a really cool time for the Nightmare Factory and a really terrible time for the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a blessing in disguise. I feel like that's one of the things that we've had like during like the COVID pandemic, where it's like things that have been terrible have somehow helped out other things. And I kind of see that with with that. So I do want to talk about, I want to ask you in terms of the Nightmare Factory, it's like you talk about, getting it started in 2017 and then obviously, the birth of AEW and kind of collaborating with that. How has the Nightmare Factory gone from like what you originally envisioned to like what it is now? Like, what has the growth been like?
Yeah, I mean, it was one ring. Now I just bought two more. We have 7 total. Not that we need 7. I'm just like a ring collector. It's weird. I have a weird, I just want to take over the world when it comes to professional wrestling schools. No, it's just, like I said, just from, having one ring and an idea to what it's become with our strength and conditioning program, our nutrition program, just everything that I always wanted. When the WWE opened up a performance center back in 2013 and I was unable to take part and be there, sometimes you're not invited to sit at the table. So you just make your own table. And that's really what I decided to do. And, I took some of their ideologies, but, obviously there's major differences between the two of ours. And like I said, I mean, AEW really trusts me as a trainer to, help some of the younger talent if they need it, or fresh right out off, from a different sport or something like that. We aren't affiliated with AEW. So like, that obviously gives our athletes an opportunity to go work for other companies and stuff like that. So, and I really like that. Not to say like, because we don't really have a developmental program, right? Like that's why we have all those other outlets between dark and elevation and stuff like that to give people, because you can learn your fundamentals in a wrestling facility, but you can't learn how to wrestle without actually wrestling. And I'm not in the business of running wrestling events. I don't want to do that. I help do that with AEW. So like there's, I don't have time to just run local, Wednesday night events or, Thursday night events or Friday, whatever it is. So for me, I'm just there to teach the fundamentals and then tell everyone, hey, go out there and wrestle, and then I think having that bridge between us and AEW really has helped, obviously, with, the success of the facility. But, there's stuff in our paperwork that says, like, just because you come here does not mean that you're going to get a chance at AEW. But if you work hard and you do the right things, of course, it's only going to help us to get you out there. And obviously, our dream is to have you fulfill your dream. So, it's only going to help us to do that.
When you had the TV production crew down there for Dynamite, were you set up for that kind of thing before then? And have you kind of kept some of that around? Because I'd imagine for students going down there, like what they used to say about the Performance Center as well, is that like you can learn in the ring and everything, but you've also got to learn where the cameras are positioned and things like that.
Yeah, like I said, we really try to, we do a student showcase, and then some of our nighttime, like out of the camp people, the people that have graduated and stuff, they run their own events like once a month, twice a month. And we just use the campers as audience members. Like we just, we don't open it to the public. It's just for practice, but it's for practice. We have production doing their stuff, obviously on a much, much, much smaller scale. But then I have people that have trained with us that maybe either got injured. So if somebody's injured, like they're going to be working the camera switcher. If, it's just a way to, you never know, right? Like I got my foot in the door as an assistant writing emails. Thank God there's Google, and I was able to look up how to write a professional email because I'm a wrestler, you know what I mean? But I was able to keep my job and obviously I excelled right away because of my passion for professional wrestling. And just because, you're not going to make it in the ring doesn't mean you can't have a job in the profession, and I think that's something that if you teach that and people understand that, also like a career is only so long in the ring. You might want to have that stuff if you want to continue to be in the wrestling industry after you're done.
Exactly.
On the subject of some of your students, now I have worn the t-shirts,
sure,
and I'm not going to say that it wasn't intentional, but Hook is a guy that he took Twitter by storm, but without even doing anything, just sort of like by standing around the ring and like the send Hook memes and everything like that. And then he stepped into the ring and people were like, oh dang, like he's actually real good as well. Like it's not just like a meme now. He is like legit, like he's like feels like a legit star. Like how have you found the rise of Hook and the popularity of Hook?
Well, I think it was, it's crazy if anyone says that nothing is done by design, and that's what professional wrestling is. You're able to do whatever you want. So like, you know what I mean? Like one day, person X can be, losing in a minute and a half. And then 6 weeks later, they have a different haircut and then they're the biggest star in the world, right? It's just, that's the option that we have. So to take a young talent like Hook, who was gaining the popularity before he even stepped in the ring, and then to kind of let him go out there and see what he could do, and he was able to hang. I mean, the fans are, as rabid as they can be. They're also, they want to see everyone succeed, right? So like, I think he's doing really well. I don't really love his attitude too much. And I mean, that's as real as it gets. I mean, sweatpants to TV, a hoodie, there's no collared shirt. I mean, he is exactly what you see. And it's not what I taught him, but I watch Rampage tonight. We'll see. Let's put it that way. I'm going to have to try to have another chat with him because I'm not really happy about the way he's, kind of disrespecting everything that I tried to teach and what I try to instill in all the athletes from the Nightmare Factory.
So in regards to that and, the Nightmare Factory and Hook, at what point did you realize like, okay, Hook is going to be more than just a guy. He's going to go in there and he's going to essentially, like Luke mentioned, take people by storm and essentially get over just with the mention of his name. Like, what was it about him that you saw that said like, dang, this kid's going to be something someday?
I think it was, pretty early because of how unique he is. Right. And then when you actually look at the the way he is, let's put it like I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
His vibe.
The vibe, but like just the whole presentation of who he is. There you go. The whole presentation of who he is so different. It's so outside the box. From the entrance, the music, the way, he doesn't even get to the middle of the ring. He just sits leans on the turnbuckle. Like, there's just so many things that are different. And that's what the fans want, right? The whole time AEW had started, everyone said we needed an alternative. And he's giving you an alternative to every, compared to every other wrestler out there. So, I think it was pretty early just by his look. He has a very, very unique, young, good looking. I mean, he's like, at first I was like, oh, look at this kid, but he's become a man in the past year. And, right in front of our eyes. And it was kind of like, he took his hoodie off one time and you see his muscle. You're like, oh, okay. Like, all right, this isn't just like this little, skinny kid in a hoodie. You know what I mean? You're like, and he's a college athlete. And that's something that no one ever really spoke about. But I mean, a collegiate level athlete, Division I, I mean, no matter, whether you're a national champion or not, like, you're a Division I athlete. So I kind of knew right away, which is why, I wasn't, not willing to teach because it is something that, like, if somebody asked me, I'm pretty honest right away. Like, hey, this guy's not going to, or at least he's not taking it seriously. And that's the thing. He took it very seriously from the beginning. And I think if you do that, the sky's the limit.
You say that he took things seriously, just not the advice to not wear sweatpants and a hoodie when he.
Yeah, I mean, no, he was fine up until, he got a little bit of success. I mean, he's young and, it is what it is. I mean, we live in a very entitled environment. I mean, half the AEW roster are kids. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean kids. I mean, they're under 25. They've never had an actual corporate job before. And they're just going right into this humongous world where they're on TV and they're out in the public and all this stuff. And, I mean, thank God a lot of our guys are able to handle it because, I mean, I know when I was 24, 25, if I had that kind of success, man, I would have been in a lot of trouble. Thank God Twitter wasn't as big. Let's put it that way.
Oh man, I've had this conversation with people before. It's like, I don't think I would have liked 24-year-old me. If I had 24-year-old me with a bit of success, I'd have been even worse.
It's terrifying. Like, whatever photos, whatever videos are going to live on the internet forever. So I think I definitely agree with you guys on that end too. Given that there are a lot of guys, young talents, in AEW, do you ever give them like advice when it comes to that? Or is there anything where you guys talk to the talent in regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, not me personally. That's not something that I try to stay in my lane as much as I can. But yeah, we have an amazing team that's back of house that really, they go above and beyond to, send us emails, updates, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we don't, get ourselves in trouble or anything like that. Right. I mean, because again, we are dealing with a very sensitive environment out there. And what you might perceive as just a little joke can turn into your whole career. So again, it's just one of those things that, thank goodness that we have our media training and all of that stuff that really goes a long way in AEW. And I just think overall, so, like I said, it's trial by error sometimes. But at the end of the day, I know we also really try to go above and beyond to hire great people. Whereas sometimes maybe the wrestling isn't the greatest with certain people, certain talents, because they're still learning, but they're good people. And eventually the wrestling will get better. So it's just one of those things, right? And that's kind of the way we operate at the facility too. Like, I can teach you how to wrestle. I can't really teach you how to be a better human being. So if you're not a good human being, it's going to be a little harder for me, to put my neck on the line for you.
Right.
Speaking of rising stars and amazing human beings, Jade Cargill has been on a tear since she came in. You want to talk about something like a Kurt Angle level, like year-long run. She's undefeated. She has been proven to be a legitimate ratings draw for AEW in sort of like demographics and overall total viewers and things like that. Is it a sense of pride in terms of Cargill's success, or like what have you made of it?
So Jade had trained over at another facility, right? Originally, just, learning her basics and stuff like that. And then when I spoke to the, her trainer, the owner, he was basically saying like, oh, Jade's never going to wrestle before TV. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be kind of hard to do that, but sure, whatever you say, man. Like, I'm not going to tell you what my true opinion is, because it's not, she's not mine. But then when AEW hired her, and then, Tony had asked me, hey, do you mind getting in there with her, rolling around with her, kind of seeing how she is? And I told him, hey, hire her. She's somebody that you could definitely hire. She's got something. She's tough more than anything. I mean, I was bumping her around pretty hard because at the end of the day, like, hey, if my rings are pretty soft compared to the AEW ring. So, if you can't handle training, there's no way you're going to be able to do this on the road, traveling, all the stuff that goes with it. But no, she's a natural. Again, one of those things that the wrestling is only going to get better. She's not out there working indie shows all the time. So it's going to take a little longer. There's going to be mistakes, but people will pay money to see her. And that's all that matters, because that's the business that we're in. We're not in the business of how good is her work. And anyone that says that that's what really matters, just listen to the live audience. You know what I mean? Like when she comes out, how do they react? No one's sitting there taking notes as she's wrestling. And if they are, that's not the fan that you're really trying to, entertain anyway. So that might be the person that has a podcast, that has a newsletter or something like that. And that's great. Hey, cool. By all means. But I think we're really trying to gain the mass audience, and grow our company. So someone like that when you see her on the street, we were just on the airplane flying home to Atlanta together the other day, yesterday. She was sitting, I was, seat C, she was A. And when she got up, the whole airplane, like, you know what I mean? It's like, what's going on here? And then you realize, like, yeah, she just doesn't look like the norm, right? So that goes a really long way, especially in this industry.
And I was about to ask you, like, how do you work around that? Because you mentioned obviously that she's not going out there and, doing indies and, getting all the reps that your traditional wrestler goes through and going through all of the routes. So obviously when she goes into the ring, there are going to be people that, point certain things out and whatnot, right? So in terms, and you kind of already mentioned, her look, which we all see, but how do you work around that in terms of like, hey, go out there, have this match? Like, what are some of the things that like you have worked with her in terms of like, for that? And also, what would you say has been like the biggest growth that you have seen in Jade's in-ring performance from when she first started working with you specifically and now where she's at, where, hey, she's holding the TBS championship?
Yeah, I think just confidence overall. And that just, again, with time, your confidence will always grow. Also, make mistakes. It's the only way you're going to learn is by making the mistakes, right? But, her going out there, and when we're training, for instance, like you'll hear this a lot in wrestling, less is more. And it's true. No one's counting how many moves you're doing. No one's counting how many strikes you're throwing. And the more you do, the more just the odds are that you're going to mess something up. So if you don't do as much and you make it mean more, and these are just traditional training techniques. Now, when you're at the level of the Young Bucks, Pac, these guys, the Lucha Brothers, yeah, now you can do a lot of stuff because you've been doing it so many times, it's muscle memory. You don't have to remember, okay, how do I jump from the rope to the middle rope, back to the top rope? Like he's done it so many times. But if I tried it, you would be watching me think how to do it. And sometimes when Jade's out there, if she's trying to remember too much or she's really in her own head, that's going to show the inexperience. So if you mask that by doing less and just having the confidence of looking like a star and acting like a star, you could really get away with a lot in the wrestling industry. And I'm not going to compare her. I don't want to compare her to like Ultimate Warrior, these people, but like those are people that made a lot of money doing a lot less in the ring. And everyone could say what they want about their rate work or their work rate. But I was just watching before, and when the Ultimate Warrior's music hit, that place went through the roof. And I think there's anyone in the world of professional wrestling would give anything for their music to hit and the place act like that. So again, it's just one of those things that you have to stick to your strengths. And again, because it's wrestling, we get to choose those things. So if you're, I always relate it to baseball. If I'm a pitcher and I don't have a really good knuckleball, I'm not going to go into the World Series and throw a knuckleball. I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? So I think that goes a long way. And again, with wrestling, it's something that we're able to dictate what we want to do.
You mentioned that Tony asked you to get in the ring and bump around with Jade. Has he asked you to do that with anyone else? And if so, like, who has been your favorite person to just get in the ring with that you've never been in there before and just start bumping around with and kind of working out with?
Yeah, anytime. So it's weird. There was a little in the beginning of 2021 when we were setting up for the feud with Cody. he had given me like a little bit of a run on dark where I was just winning, right? But most of the guys I was wrestling were guys that we wanted to look at. And there's no better way for me to look at somebody than just get in the ring with them. So, like JJ Garrett was one on the indies, GCW guy, Captain Sean Dean, right? Like he was somebody that was like, hey, let's test him out. Get in there with him. Let's see how it goes. It gives you a good win, right? Like it's not bad to beat another guy. Also, though, like see what we could do with these guys. So Satnam Singh was another one that we brought him to TV. Is like, hey, do you mind getting in the ring? This guy's 7'3". What do you want me to do with him? But at the end of the day, I just got to really, it's more or less like gauging what kind of person they are, right? And then if they have 2 left feet or not, and then can they be trained? Are they willing to do it? Again, bump them a couple times, see how much they're really, it's all fun and games until you whack your head on the mat. You know what I mean? So it's like, but yeah, Satnam's probably another one that, like I said, a Gogo, when DDP brought him over, he got right in the ring. We ran a tackle drop down spot in like 10 minutes of being in the ring, of just explaining what it was. And he was another natural. So, like I said, I have no shame getting in there with anybody, as long as they don't hurt me,
Someone's just brought it up into the chat then, and I did want to ask about this, and we're not going to dwell on other, parts of this news, but Cody did say that he wanted to give Jade the Cody Vader, as part of her entrance. That has got to be like amazing for someone who has, less than a year, like really sort of in ring, 28 matches or whatever it is on TV, to have like, a guy of that stature to be like, she should have the biggest entrance.
Yeah.
Like, because she is a star.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that was something that I didn't see it. I guess he put it in the press release. Yeah, I didn't. I read it, but I didn't realize what it meant. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's something I'm sure had he not said that, there would be a whole locker room fighting over it. But that does, I think if somebody was going to get it, that's somebody that, could have one, because it gives that presentation of, hey, look at this person, like this person is special. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad for her. Did she use it on Wednesday?
She hasn't used it yet. No.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was there with her backstage, and then someone pulled me aside just right before her entrance. And I haven't watched the show back yet. So, I mean, I watched her match, but as soon as I like ran away, I started watching it on the monitor, but I didn't get to see the entrance. So,
you talk about like, bumping with people that, you've got to try them out, see what they're like. You were, I believe you're instrumental in the training of Shaq for his AEW match. Yeah. So Shaq has done a few things in wrestling before. Like he did some stuff with WWE, working with Paul White. But we never, it took us a while to get to sort of that point. What was it like getting in the ring with Shaquille O'Neal and being like, okay, what do we do next?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, he came to the school. I asked him when he was going to get in the ring and do this. He said, I don't think I could do that. I said, I could teach you in 10 days. And he said, what? I said, yep, I can teach you in 10 sessions. I can get you ready for a match. You have to put the work in, but we can do it. He was like, all right, here's the days I'm available. Here's my assistant, yada, yada, yada. I'm always going to show up around midnight. So, hopefully you don't enjoy sleeping. And and we trained. And, the first day what happened was I suplexed him on the crash pad. And then he asked me to remove the crash pad. And I did. And, he took the bump and he realized, okay, I can do this. So, and that's kind of how it went. So it was real weird. It was just like, I was just throwing it out there to see, what his interest level was. And then I remember going to Tony like, hey, I think he wants to do this. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, he just doesn't want to deal with anyone. He just wants to deal with me for whatever reason. So I had to be like his PR person, everything. It was nuts, but it was really cool. It was something that I thought was pretty special. And it really set Jade up for success to be in such a high profile match in her first match ever. And that's what it was designed for. Anyone can talk about, they didn't like the story getting there. Who gives a crap? You know what I mean? The whole idea was to put Jade out there in a high profile match to show right from the beginning that this person is someone that we perceive as a superstar. And I thought we did our job that way.
What was the most surprising thing about working with Shaq?
How dedicated he was, honestly, for somebody that has as much worth as he does. just everything, like the idea that he was that dedicated. He wanted to learn. He didn't want to disrespect professional wrestling. I remember I talked to him about ring gear. He just laughed at me. He's like, I'm just going to wear a tank top and sweatpants. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I'm not going to dress up like I'm not a wrestler. I was like, okay. He's like, sure, I'm not going to argue with you because you'll rip my head off. So, whatever you feel, and then it was a lot of the stuff in the match were his ideas. I mean, he wanted to pay tribute to Brody Lee. So I had to teach him a power bomb. The tables, he wanted to go through the table. I mean, he just had all of these ideas that he wanted to do. And I think he just, he was like, hey, if this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to go all out. I really want to give these fans an amazing show. And the only regret, I think, is that we weren't able to do it in front of a sold out building. Because I think if we didn't want to get Jade out there, that would have been the only thing, I think, if we could change something, that we would have.
Here's the interesting thing about this, though, is that you mentioned that this was designed to get Jade over, which it did. And obviously, she's in a big profile match with Cody and Shaq and those people. But on top of that, Red Velvet was also part of this. And I kind of felt like she sort of, kind of came out of nowhere. Sure. Were you guys were you and the, people in the back sort of surprised by how she came out also during that match?
So me personally, no, because a friend of mine is the one that introduced me to Red. And then we started bringing her in during the pandemic, and she was always, professional, and she always did the job that we had asked. She, again, another one, has a very unique look on the complete opposite side of Jade, right? I mean, she's real small and, fragile, but like she's tough, and she was able to, like I said, hold her ground to the point where then she was offered her contract and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously with Brandy getting pregnant, the plans changed a little bit for the match, but I thought that, Red obviously held her ground and did an amazing job. And yeah, sometimes you're just designed to be the person in there with the person. And that there's two ways to look at it. You could be very upset and, I can't believe I have to do this with that person. Or you could say, hey, you know what? This person's on the rise. I'm going to try to latch onto them and get this match in with them because a lot of eyes are going to be on it. And Red understood the business of everything, and she did an amazing job as well.
Just lastly on the Shaq thing, that you said that the big regret was not being able to do it in front of a sold out audience. Is there the option to, now that we've got fans back, get Shaq back, get him in the ring again?
I never say never. I mean, I just bought a house in the same city as him, so you'll never say never, man. We still stay in contact. So,
you mentioned Anthony Gogo earlier, and actually you talked about Jade not being able to go off and do the indies and stuff. But we have recently just seen a Gogo being doing this because he's gone and done some work with Progress here in the UK, and he's been doing some stuff still with Dark and Dark Elevation. What have you made of a Gogo's run within AEW? Because he came in, had the big profile stuff with Cody, which got some mixed reviews from people after the Cody promo and then the match itself. But what have you made of a Gogo's run within AEW since coming in?
I mean, he's done an amazing job for somebody that is as inexperienced as he is. Another one who came in, he trained hard. I mean, he's an Olympic athlete. There's no way he's not going to, work hard at something to be successful. I think, after we did our tag match, him and I versus Cody and Lee, where I pinned Cody, by the way, he had to go back home for a little while. And I think that kind of halted his momentum a little bit. And now it's just about trying to get him back in the, in the fold and all that stuff. And a lot of stuff happened, obviously, since then with the factory and kind of the way we were perceived and, a lot of stuff. And that's just the way business works. So it's just a matter of, again, getting him back in the fold and putting him in the right place. You mentioned how there are a lot of people that didn't really love the storyline or angle that, Anthony was in with Cody. And I mean, again, listen to the live audience. I don't care what Twitter says. You know what I mean? Like, Twitter can talk all they want, but the actual people that are watching the show live, making the noise, those are the people that really matter. And I think during the pandemic, we gave a little too much power to the people behind, the keyboard. They don't run again, 80 people tweeting when there's 1 million watching. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really matter to me. So, and I know that's not the popular opinion and everyone loves going on Twitter. Like, I don't go on Twitter unless I have to tweet something for AEW. I try to stay off of it. There's way too much negativity. And again, I think, Cody got a lot of blame for the storyline. For what? I don't know. I mean, sure, the promo, whatever, it's controversial. However you guys want to perceive it. I thought he was cutting a passionate promo about his life, and and Anthony being this guy who hated America because of what it stood for. I thought it was a pretty easy, simple storyline. Oh, well, it's 2022. We can't go back into, okay, whatever, guys. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. So I think, Anthony held his own. His first big match was on pay-per-view. They did a great job. Time was really constricted on that show, restricted because of people running long. They cut 6 minutes on the fly. So again, no one knows these things because we're not going to promote them. You know what I mean? So the people that are home saying, oh, that match wasn't as good as it could have been and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're right. They probably could have went an extra 6 minutes. They didn't, because Cody really thought about the whole show and it wasn't about Cody. So this is where, like, my friendship with Cody, I would never say it publicly until now, just because of my friendship. People are going to say, well, of course he's going to say that. He's friends with him. No, I'm going to say it because he did the right thing. I was ringside and helping Coach Anthony as the match was going on, because I realized they were cutting down their entire match to make the show hit our times. So again, I thought he did a great job, and I think he'll continue to do a great job. And he's on pace to, he's just a storyline away from really getting out there and becoming, the successful professional wrestler that we hired.
Quickly on your feud with Paul White, the Let's Do All Out match, you talk about sort of like matches getting cut, because I believe that was also a match that got cut. I also heard there was a story of basically you would just, however much time we need between match A and match B, that's the time you need to fill. So sure. Was it just a case of like you had time, go out there and fill the time? And how do you then work that with Paul in the ring? Or is it literally just a case of before you go out being like, cool, let's just do this, this, and this, and we'll go and hit it?
Yeah, so I don't know where anyone gets information from. I genuinely don't. And that's kind of where I'll keep that answer. We did what we were going to do no matter what, no matter how much time we had. I really don't know where all this information came from. If it was from our side, okay, then that's the narrative somebody's going to tell. I know I wrote the show with Tony. I wrote down the times that I had with Tony. No one told us to go faster. No one told us to go slower. We just went out there and worked. With Paul, if he's going to get to the next spot, I can't do anything about it because he's so big. I can't just rake him in the eyes and throw him to the outside of the ring. It's just not feasible with someone his size. So again, we didn't go any faster or slower than we were going to go because somebody told us to. This is just the way he wanted to work. I wasn't, thrilled about it because I did push to get us a lot more time, and no one told us we couldn't go that much more time. So we just didn't. So again, and that's not, I'm not mad at Paul for it, but I work my ass off to get on pay-per-view. So if I'm going to get on pay-per-view and get 7 minutes, or 8 minutes with our entrances and a video package and all that stuff, I want to go the full 8 minutes. So when I watch it back and see 3 minutes bell to bell like that, it does bother me. But the narrative that people are pushing that we were told to do that, or we had to do that because it was the match after CM Punk, that's complete, BS. I don't know where that came from. And I know I saw Meltzer write something. So maybe he spoke to Tony, and maybe that's the narrative somebody wanted to push because the match wasn't as amazing as everyone thought it was going to be. I mean, really on paper, what did you think it was going to be? Like realistically, I mean, the whole lead up, he never touched me. So the moment he gets his hands on me, it should have been ding, 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 choke slam. Realistically, I would have been okay with that too. I don't give a crap. Like, I'm doing the job that I'm asked to do. The biggest thing is people were upset about that we were on pay-per-view. Well, who do you want Paul White to wrestle? You want him to beat Jungle Boy? You want him to beat one of the young talents that Dante Martin? Because I'm telling you, I would have loved to have him go out there and do that to one of those guys instead of me. But at the same time, from a company perspective, who's one of the only guys in the locker room that's okay being a heel, that can go out there and get beat, and the internet, the Twitter universe is not going to go crazy over? You know what I mean? I'm probably that guy. And I'm okay with that because, again, I don't read Twitter. So the only way I know these things is because other people come up to me and ask me questions about, like, how do you feel that your match wasn't perceived? I don't know. Paul was happy. I was happy. I was able to walk out of the arena without being put in a wheelchair. So, for me, I was okay with it. So
we've actually got a very special question that's just come in from Fightful, from Sean Rossap, who's just said, ask QT Marshall about the time he dropped his phone at the AEW scrum trying to throw it behind his back.
Yeah. I was probably that was probably when I was doing the Apple thing, and I said I could throw it, and it's not round, it's a cell phone. Yeah. I mean, you had a chance to ask a real question, and that's the one you got, huh? Man. All right.
Yeah. Well, that's Sean for you.
Yeah.
He did also say that the whole match should have just been you reacting to the tall pole chant, but that's Sean for you. I wanted to ask you actually about the influx of talent that we've had within AEW since, All Out, like Danielson, Cole, recently Danhausen, Keith Lee, Brody King, and everything like that. Like, how have you found AEW's balance between bringing in new talent, but also using the talent that you're developing for the future?
It's just one of those things. There's only so much real estate.
Oh, we lost QT. We lost QT. Well, I blame Sean
Give
for
him
that.
a second. Yeah, I was going to say the second we read that comment.
Am I back?
Oh, he's back.
We got you back. We got you back.
I was going to say, I never lost you. I heard everything. And it was his fault, 100%. My computer showed up and said, because of that dumb question, your computer's not going to work. There's only so much real estate on TV, but Tony does a really good job of, putting backstage promos and vignettes and pre-tapes and all that stuff that can really get people out, as many talents on the show as possible. So that's really what it's about. And then between Dark and Elevation and stuff like that, it's just a matter of, or factions, right? Everyone, they have so many factions. Yeah, we have a lot of talent. We want to put them all on TV. So, or we could just leave everyone backstage and put one-on-one matches and get 5 of them. Then you have 10 people on TV. It's just one of those things. You can't please everybody. And Tony wants to please the fans, but he also wants to please his employees. If the travel list is pretty, heavy, he's going to try his best to get everyone out there in front of the live crowd. And that means, 8 matches on Elevation, 6 on Dynamite, another 4 on Rampage. I mean, it's a long night, but the last thing he wants to do is have someone show up and just sit backstage and do nothing.
Yeah.
With that being said, it's like you only have so much allotted time on Dynamite and Rampage, which are the two main shows, right? So you're bringing all of these people into AEW, and there are a lot of criticisms. Again, we can bring up the Twitterverse. There are a lot of criticisms of people basically saying AEW is bringing in too many talent. It's too much. A lot of people have that criticism. So with that being said, like, how do you sort of say like, hey, like, no, like this is, if you feel like, what are the pros of all of these talents coming in and the AEW roster becoming so much larger and expanding what kind of feels like now on a weekly, bi-weekly basis?
I think it's just better for everybody. It just creates more matches. I think AEW really does a good job of not putting too many rematches out there unless they mean something. So having more talent just makes it easier to do that. You say about the people complaining. Every single person that becomes a free agent, somebody on Twitter posts, you have to sign them. So the same exact people that are complaining when we hire people are the ones that are pushing to get them hired. So again, you can't read into that stuff. Everyone, you don't need a guy like this. You don't need a girl like this. Okay.
We lost QT for a second.
Lost him again. That damn SRS.
We were cruising.
It was almost going too well, Denise. That was the problem.
Am I back?
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah, we got you.
I don't know what's going. I mean, I'm even plugged into the internet here, so which it told me to do that, so that's why I did it. But yeah, anyway, long story short, what I was saying is that we're gonna get as many talents that are out there, and we're gonna give them a chance. And if our fans like them, they're gonna stay. And if they don't like them, we don't hire everybody. Just because they're out on TV once doesn't mean that they're locked into a 10-year contract either. It's just about seeing how our fans react. And again, the live audience is what matters. You know what I mean? It's not what the people say on Twitter. And like I said, I think wrestlers in general, and I know this because as soon as someone's done going and they come backstage, the first thing they do is get on their phone and look up Twitter. You don't need it. You literally are out there. Like the fans are out there and they're telling you how good you're doing. They're by cheering or booing or this is awesome, all that stuff. Who cares what Rob 067495, is telling you? Like, who gives a crap about that person? It might not even be a real human being that is actually watching the show. And two, you know what I mean? Like, again, just what we were taught is listen to the crowd with your ears. That's how you know how you're doing. So, you know, I think if there is a talent out there, it's on us to, you know, hopefully help them succeed. But on top of that, give them a chance. You know, I'm all for it. Can't wish away good talent. That's the one thing that I was taught, you know, by Cody. Can't wish away the good talent, man. If they're out there, you know, you just got to be better than them. It is what it is. Figure out how they've connected with the audience better than you and why they're going to be out there. And then do that. And if you can't do it, it is what it is, you know?
Makes sense.
We've got some questions in from our viewers. We won't be keeping you too much longer. But
okay.
let's go through some of these questions. Charles Berg has got a couple of questions for you. What is something you would like to see AEW improve on in the coming year?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard. I mean, of course, everything, right? Like just everything. But I think, you know, we've kind of found like what we're good at, and we really try to stick to that. I'm trying. Again, I don't really look into the criticisms. You know, I'm sure Tony does, and that's just not my job. So I couldn't tell you what like the biggest. Like, let me ask you. You guys watch the show. What's one of the criticisms that you think we really? Yeah.
Not enough women's matches. That's one of the criticisms. Yes.
So, okay, so not enough women's matches. So if you look at the ratio of how many guys are on the roster compared to how many girls are on the roster, you want to talk about keeping it even. You have to keep it even, right? So like, how do you do that? If you have 100 and something guys and 20 girls, how do you do it? You tell me, how do you mathematically do it and make it work, right? So I do think over time that'll happen. But also, like I said, we really have to stick to the ratio of male to females. Do we get rid of all the male wrestlers and hire a lot more females? Because then we have no option then to put more female talent out there, right? So it's just one of those things, and we're doing it. And I know, you know, on Rampage, we try to get every now and then we'll try to get 2 female matches. A couple of weeks ago, we had 2 female matches on Dynamite. It's hard. There's only so much time on the show. So for everyone that says you could get more women's matches, I would say, how about all the guys that are backstage not wrestling? How come we don't use all of them? And why do we have to use the same talent? So you can't please everybody, right? And I think over time, maybe it'll help. You know, maybe we'll get better at it. Who knows? You know, that's not my decision. But at the end of the day, I think we really try to, if you're not wrestling, we do still try to get storylines going. I think we've been better at that between Layla, Statlander, you know, the Bunny and you know, with Ty doing their storyline and stuff like that. So it is what it is. But like I said, I just look at pure numbers, and maybe that's not the right answer, but to me, like, that's the logical one of like, well, you have this many males and this many females. So if you do the math, this is kind of how it's going to work out. And like I said, maybe it's not the most popular answer, but I don't, again, you can say male and female. I just say wrestler. I just look at wrestlers, right? And everyone's, that's BS. He can't talk like that. Sure. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Charles also wants to know, what lesson are you going to teach that disrespectful, not handsome Hook?
Man, don't say he's not handsome. He's a handsome guy. Yeah, he's a handsome guy. But yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, we'll see. I'm gonna tonight on Rampage. I want him to come out here and thank me. Just thank me, because the success is because of me. And you know, obviously his looks help, but the real success is because of me. So I'm gonna do my best to get him out there tonight and just, you know, extend my hand and just have him say thank you. And then, hey, we can let bygones be bygones.
Luke Neal says, I cannot get enough of you, QT Marshall. I'm from Australia, and I just want to say I love watching you wrestle. I've got 3 dream matches: Omega versus John Cena, Omega versus Jay White, and you versus Jay White.
Well, I was about to say, if you don't mention me in any of those dream matches, you really don't like me. Yeah, I mean, I would love to wrestle Jay White. Maybe I'll show up in New Japan pretty soon. Who knows? With the Forbidden Door, you never know, and I've never walked through it. So who knows? You know, that's something that I've known Jay a long time, since he was on his excursion in Ring of Honor from the New Japan Dojo. So yeah, I mean, I'd be, you know, lucky to get in there with him, but at the same time, you know, I think we could put on a pretty good match. Also, like that guy that asked the question, tell him to start tweeting at everybody that how much he loves me, because he's one of the only ones. So
Matt said, out of the 4 options as a wrestling promoter, should you be thoughtful of others, ruthless but still with a sense of ethical integrity, cutthroat, or with a strong desire to see success?
a little bit of all of them, right? Like, I mean, without, you can't be a cold-hearted human being, but also like no one likes the truth, and business is business. So like, if you're not producing numbers, it is what it is. Like, that's the one thing that people are going to hate when I say it. But for instance, when I wrestled Billy Gunn on Dynamite, a week they advertised it. They had advertised it like the day before because we did a little angle on Dark or something like that to set up the match. And the whole night it was just tagging me, and I can't believe we have to watch this match. You could give more time to the girls and this, that, and the other. And then the rating came out, and Billy Gunn had the highest rating on the show because Billy Gunn is an absolute megastar. So again, business is business, and people's opinions are opinions, and we're running a business. And that doesn't mean that that's always going to be the answer. But at the end of the day, like, that's the business that we're in. And again, if somebody's a megastar like Billy Gunn, again, you notice I didn't say it was because I was in the segment. I'm very fortunate enough to pad the segments with people that are big stars, right? Because I'm somebody that can work with them and stuff like that, and all that stuff. So anyway, I think it's just, again, business is business, so you do have to have all of those qualities. But overall, just take care of your talent. That's the biggest thing. Take care of your employees, work with your employees and not through your employees. And Tony does a really good job of that. The whole Jaguars, staff, that's just, we're very fortunate to work for the people that we work for.
Now, according to some people in our chat currently, and including Sean, apparently MJF is currently watching this stream with us and has sent in a question for you that just says, sure. Yo, QT, it's MJF. How the F have you still not watched my promo from this week's show? Yeah, because I don't have to watch it, because I read and I heard, I listened to the live audience, and I know it was one of the greatest promos in a long time. It'll be right up there with Cody's promo. No, it's very controversial, and me being a fellow Jewish professional wrestler and hearing that story, it warmed, it made me feel a certain way. And again, I think it's just one of those things that I will watch it when I have time. And, Max, I had to do this interview right now, or else I was going to watch it. I had it loaded up, and then my alarm went off and the interview had to start. Hey, Joe, I'll take the heat for that one. It's mine.
There you go. Yeah, it's your fault.
Manuel said, QT, you've talked about having the best resting facility. So I want to know what tools, extra things you have besides the ring that you think is the most important to develop wrestlers in these competitive times for business.
So we have our, obviously we have our full gym. We have our strength and conditioning program, which is the same program that the NFL uses, the NFL alumni, which is, obviously one of the best performance facility and strength and conditioning programs. On top of that, we have nutrition, just everything. Like I said, our promos, we do promo class once a week. So we just really try to make everyone the best all-around professional wrestler you possibly can be. Everyone's going to be good at certain things, but if you could be pretty good at all of them, it really helps your chances. This is, what I try to tell everybody: treat wrestling like school, and you have all your different subjects, and the more A's you have, the better you're probably going to end up.
Dan here says, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for providing us with the great entertainment to distract us from what's going on in the world. I hope we can see AEW go to Germany in the future. We actually get this quite a few times when we've had AEW on the AEW Stars. The touring outside of the US, is that something that you're personally looking forward to, should it happen?
Yeah, my brother lives in Denmark, so I would love to be able to have him and my nephew come to an event. And I've only wrestled in England once. So like to be able to go over there would be great. I think, timing is everything. And when we're able to do it, I know it's going to be great. So.
And lastly for now, Danny says, I'm genuinely impressed how you've built up the Nightmare Factory, and congrats on all the success. And apologies if this is a little personal, but where do you get all of your bowling shirts from?
They're given to me. Yeah, I mean, my wife bought the first one, and I think she was doing that so that way no female ever in the world would want to be attracted to me. But it stuck, and people like them, and or they hate them. And again, that's the business that we're in. As long as they're on Twitter talking about them, that's really all I care about. So I mean, like I said, once I started wearing them, I think, people have been sending them to me left and right, family members. And so I don't know where we really get them from. I'm sure just online, honestly. You know, you buy them online.
I was going to say, you can just do a P.O. box and have the fans send you some of those.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some unique ones.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know.
Actually, one last question before we go. This is from one of our moderators, Les, who's just said, before Punk came back, I didn't really watch any weekly AEW or much wrestling in general, but I've really started to get into it. So I would like to spend some more of my free time this year watching old Dynamite shows and feuds that I've missed. Which period of Dynamite or AEW would you suggest I go back and watch?
Just watch them all. I mean, you know, it was really hard during the pandemic. You know, especially like the beginning of the pandemic with no audience and stuff, but just watch them all, man. You know, like just, you'll follow storylines and you'll fall in love with some characters and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously the beginning of Dynamite was really cool because it was different, you know, and then Tony kind of took over completely, like right in the beginning of 2020. So you see a little bit of changes, but, you know, I just think everyone is as authentic as we can be. And, you know, if I had to say any period, the live fans being there really does make AEW what it is. You know, they're just the passionate fans. They like to sing. They like to just have a great time. They want to cheer. You know, that's the one difference that I'll say between us and like Monday Night Raw. Like I watch Monday Night Raw. Those matches, some of them are amazing, but they don't feel the same because the audience isn't into it, because they're just, you know, for whatever reason it is. Maybe because they're not there for those amazing matches. You know what I mean? They're there for the storylines or whatever it is. Whereas AEW, you know, I think our fan base is there for those great matches. And that's really what we try to give them every week.
QT, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We really do appreciate it. The floor is yours to plug away. Is there anything you would like to promote?
No. Promote Revolution, obviously, all the AEW stuff. I'm a company guy, so just promote the company because that'll help promote me. I just always say this on all the interviews I do. If you like AEW and you genuinely believe in the stuff that we do and what we stand for, stop keeping it to yourself. Tell people. Don't just tweet about the negative stuff that you hate. Tell the people about the positive stuff. Tell your friends that used to watch wrestling, that fell out of love with it. Hey, this is really cool. This is the wrestling that I used to love, because that's really what we're trying to bring back. And it'll help grow our fan base. And then we'll be able to go tour all over the world and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing is that wrestling fans, I'm a wrestling fan, right? And I know I don't just walk around with wrestling t-shirts anymore and tell everyone how, you know, I love wrestling, right? Because it's just not the cool thing to do. But it's okay to tell people privately, you know, hey, you should really watch this with me. Hey, you know, let's talk about it the next day at work or something like that. You know, that's what used to be fun. Tuesdays at school to go in and talk about the Monday Night Wars and all this stuff. Nowadays, everyone's just on their phone on Twitter and hoping that they have, and most of them have 20 followers. So it's like those people could really go out there. And on top of that, you'll have a much more satisfying life by dealing with other human beings instead of just dealing with your cell phone. So, and I know I sound like a really old person talking like that at 36, but it will help you personally, but also will help out AEW. And if you really care about AEW, that should be your goal. If we're presenting, you know, this amazing show to entertain you guys, you know, that's all I could ask for. You know, I don't know if that's the stuff everyone wants to hear, but at the end of the day, like I said, if it were me, I would, you know, if I could pick one thing for us to really talk about, it would be tell everyone how much you love AEW, tell them to give it a chance. And like I said, most of the time, our success rate is pretty good that we keep our fans.
Well, QT, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Have fun at Rampage tonight. I'm sure you got some words to say to young boy Hook.
That's right.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you once again.
Watch the MJF promo.
I'm going to watch it. While I do cardio, I'm going to watch it. Max, I promise I'll watch it and I will text you my thoughts.
I mean, it was real good.
Can only imagine.
Tweet him your thoughts. You got to tweet him your thoughts. After all the Twitter talk, you got
too many steps. I got to go to the App Store. I got to download Twitter. It's just way too many steps.
Yeah, we've got text message for a reason.
Exactly.
Thank you all so much for watching, everyone. Denise, actually, before we go, is there anything you'd like to plug before we end off this show? Twitter
and Instagram @ Denise Salcedo. I'm unfortunately one of those Twitter addicted people, but I agree with QT though. We got to take time off of our phone. Completely agree.
Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow for the AEW Rampage WrestleTalk podcast review. Thank you, QT Marshall. Thank you, Denise Salcedo. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Take it easy.